You've got to keep in mind that more than likely, an agenda is at play among the partisan media. We're going to talk about ICE today, something many people have strong opinions on. But I'm going to really challenge some of those perspectives today. You got to ask yourself, are you really willing to peel back the politics to see the facts? It's probably easier staying in the media echo chambers that are telling you the news through a lens that you agree with. But you're not doing that because you're here. We've got a lot to talk about today when it comes to getting the full picture and how ICE operations are a legal tool the government uses to expedite deportations, but also how they're not without flaws. Welcome back to Bias Breakdown. ICE operations have consistently stayed part of our news cycle since President Trump's inauguration, but the way the stories are told sharply differ depending on the outlet you're watching. Let's start with one of the latest high-profile ICE arrests. The superintendent of Des Moines Public School District was arrested on Friday. Let's hear how Fox on the right started their report.
Ian Andre Roberts is, quote, a criminal illegal alien from Ghana in possession of a loaded handgun. Roberts was working as the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, despite being an illegal alien with a final order of removal and no work authorization.
And this is how CBS News started their coverage.
Protesters rallied outside of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration offices in Des Moines Friday, stunned by the arrest of public school superintendent Ian Roberts, an immigrant from Guyana.
The general public, I think, is not okay with what's happening.
The consensus from how Fox reported it, wow, good thing ICE got this guy. The takeaway from the CBS report, whoa, now ICE is going after immigrants in schools. And did you pick up on that language there too, from illegal alien to immigrant from Guyana? These labels provoke a reaction out of an audience. They're intentional and a form of media bias. Media watchdog group All Sides describes it like this: words and phrases are loaded with political implications and can reveal an outlet's perspective or ideology. Illegal alien is commonly used by the right, and immigrant without acknowledging illegal status is often used by the left. Now let's also compare how the story's wrapped. First, back to Fox.
And so the question is, did he provide a fraudulent social security number and was operating as someone else? And if not, I think there's a lot of questions that school system has to answer. And the question is, are there others there as well?
And here's CBS.
Roberts, a former Olympic athlete, had been well liked by many in the community, and while some are now questioning what background checks were done by the school district, others are questioning the motivation behind the arrest.
He was targeted specifically because he won't give access to ICE to arrest our kids. And we are 100% behind him.
Fox's focus was questioning how the school district could have allowed this person with deportation orders and a prior weapons charge to become superintendent, while CBS humanizes Roberts, reminding its audience that he was a former athlete and well-liked. They do acknowledge questions around background checks, but lean in on questioning ICE's motives. This is a great recent example of how if you watch the same story, but from different left-right networks, you'd likely walk away with a very different conclusion. While we compared how left and right media covered the same ICE story differently, we honestly can't do that very often, because a lot of times the left and right media are platforming very different ICE stories. They strategically select what stories to cover based off of what supports their political narrative. There's two media vacuums. On the right, coverage focuses on ICE operations that take criminals off the streets.
Major takedown by ICE agents in Nebraska as they bring in an MS-13 kingpin who has been on El Salvador's 100 Most Wanted for nearly a decade.
In Philadelphia, ICE recently arrested this suspected al-Qaeda member previously released into the U.S. by the Biden administration.
ICE officers arresting a three-time deported, convicted pedophile who was found living in an at-home daycare run by his wife. The suspect, a Mexican national and confirmed gang member, has a lengthy rap sheet.
All of these stories are factual. Arresting MS-13 gang leaders, suspected terrorists, and convicted child predators show ICE doing exactly what they're set out to do. But when looking through the big three networks' coverage, both broadcast and online articles, left-leaning ABC, CBS, and NBC, none of the networks highlighted any of these arrests. Instead, these news outlets often feature stories on ICE interactions that go completely wrong or cases where agents misidentify their targets.
So an ICE officer is relieved of current duties after a violent confrontation with a woman whose husband had just been detained in New York.
The agent then lashing out, slamming her into a wall before shoving her to the ground. This is the moment an ICE agent smashed the window of the vehicle to remove 29-year-old Juan Francisco Mendez. His lawyer tells CBS News the agent was looking for a man named Antonio and mistook him for the wrong person.
Marcelo Gomez de Silva is 18 years old, attending high school in Massachusetts. He came to this country on a visitor's visa at just 7 years old, later getting a student visa. He was detained on May 31st on the way to volleyball. The agents, it turns out, were looking for his father, but took him in when they realized his visa had expired.
These cases are also factual. An ICE agent was suspended after shoving a woman to the ground at an immigration courthouse. And these two individuals were cases of mistaken identity, but neither had legal status in the country, so they were still taken into ICE custody. We couldn't find any coverage from Fox News broadcasting any of these cases. This is bias by omission, and it shows up in both left and right-leaning news outlets. Sure, national media can't cover every single story about ICE across the country, but when there's a clear pattern in the types of stories they choose to cover, it can reveal a political bias either for or against ICE. You know the editorial decision-making crosses the line into media bias when certain stories that don't support a political narrative are neglected, as media watchdog group All Sides puts it. This also means that if you're only consuming news through partisan outlets, you're likely not getting the full picture. You're only getting select stories, either ICE nabbing the worst of the worst or agents nabbing the wrong targets. There's a case to be made that the partisan media is further fueling the division over ICE given how split and intentional the coverage is. And that makes me think of this.
I have a strong belief that perception is reality.
I grew up with Dr. Phil playing in the background thanks to my mom and grandma. But this statement, perception is reality, I think it's a strong one, and I think it applies here. Because the news we consume that is driven by a narrative shapes our perception of ICE. And these opposing left versus right perceptions are the reality of each side. And maybe by exposing how the media is framing the story, it can help us understand, we don't have to agree with each other, but it can maybe help us understand why people have polarizing views based on what they're consuming. Americans nowadays really don't agree on too much. And someone commented on YouTube either last week or the week before's episode that we don't need to agree on issues, reminding me in my scripting to not frame stories that way, like we all need to agree here, because we definitely don't. But rather, it's okay and actually good to not agree and have diverse opinions. That's what makes us great. What weakens us is when those differences turn into sharp division. And there are new polls that show anywhere between 70 to 80% of Americans do agree that our differences are making our society more divisive, polarizing, and even dangerous, more at risk of political violence. Political opinions shouldn't strip away our compassion for one another. And let's not give the media control over our emotions through their not-so-hidden agendas. And that's your bias breakdown. Thank you for watching this week's episode. I appreciate you being here with us. Remember to be the first notified about new episodes dropping, download the Straight Arrow News mobile app, and sign up for notifications to our podcast. You can always find us on your go-to podcast platforms as well. We're starting to pick up more viewership over on Spotify, which is exciting to see. So thank you for streaming over there and leaving comments for us. We're also slowly but surely starting to build a pretty loyal group of you on YouTube, I feel like. We had hundreds of viewers send in feedback last week, which honestly was amazing to see. What I love most is the honest and respectful dialogue we have in the comments when talking about really sensitive issues. So thank you for your kindness and contributions to the conversation. Thank you to Ian Kennedy on our video edits and to Allie Caldwell for her help on graphics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.